What's good, everybody? Welcome back to Boompa World. Today with another hazy memory from my childhood with this little look back on Crash Twinsanity. Cover takes me right back to like 05 in my kindergarten classmate Sam's room. We were confused. We felt like we got ripped off when we realized this game wasn't 2 players, so it was kind of a failed rental, but we played Kirby Air Ride instead, so it was a valid day. Washed the pain down with some chicken nuggets maybe. But Crash Twinsanity's development studio, Traveler's Tales Oxford, was specifically made to create this game and also specifically shut their doors after the game didn't sell good enough or really get that good a reception. It's the only Crash game to not get the greatest hits banner. They had to try something different and outside the box because people were saying Wrath of Cortex was a shittier reskin of Crash 3. But at the same time, they also had a looming, quickly approaching deadline of 2004 to come out the same time as Spyro: A Hero's Tale. What did I miss after only playing for like 5 minutes at my friend's house? Crash Twinsanity kind of looks like a banger. More open levels, you got some type of booty slapping mechanic here on the back of the box. And wow, within 5 minutes, Cortex is in drag. There's something weird going on! So what are we doing? What are we waiting for? And if it's actually mid or it's untapped excellence and beauty. So be sure to like and subscribe for more Boompa World. Help me grow, please. Before they made Crash Twinsanity, the new studio got a chance to come up with like all kinds of ideas and demos, and like they had some ideas like Crash Evolution. There's droves of cut content here, so it's kind of telltale signs it's rushed or it's unfinished. Cortex unthaws during this long ass loading screen. I don't know if that happens at the end of Wrath of Cortex. Then he shoots Coco with like a doofy ray and assumes her position. And he lures Crash's dumbass, but now instead of it being a straight shot temple run ass level, we actually get some wiggle room to explore. But Crash is led to a false birthday party with all his enemies. It's basically like in Dante's Inferno when you have to fight death at the end of the first level. Yeah, this tutorial was kind of promising. They tried to be funny with it.
I've been doing this for 10 stinking years. Back and forward, back and forward.
The colors and detail were solid, and it felt like a slight evolution of Crash's formula, actually in the right direction. I don't know what everyone was bitching about back then, to be honest. The controls were tight too, exactly how you'd think a PS2 era Orange Bandicoot would maneuver. I mean, his double jump wasn't as good as you'd want it to be. It was kind of off. I wanted it to be a little higher, honestly, but in this first boss, you just spun back the Plasma of Victory every single phase, and it wasn't as hard as it looked. The first boss definitely showed some fan service with the gang, and bro even bought the birthday cake, which was nice. It threw you right into a pretty difficult time once the tutorial was over, and each level also just led into the next with no little level select or overworld for the moment. I mean, there's no overworld in this game. It's Twinsanity. It's fucking crazy. It felt more like a structured adventure. It sets itself apart from even the newer Crash games in that regard. The fight is followed by a ball rolly level, which I'm always down for. Awaken my inner monkey ball. But this time, the whole time they're just fighting and grunting. It's just goofy as hell. But you and Cortex end up teaming up to get out of this conundrum, this cave. And you throw them across big gaps to turn levers or activate these weird crystals. Throughout the game, the variety of color and unique environments was really impressive. Cool backdrops you only get to see for a little. I remember glitching through the ground, and I let it slide because the levels were so imaginative. They use these nitro puzzles a lot throughout the game. Also tripped me out because like these gray platforms don't leave a shadow for Crash, and it's lost any semblance of depth perception. But we emerge from the cave when the real villains, the evil twins, pull up on us through a zipper in space-time, and they basically flex on us, pull Cortex's brain out, and say they're gonna blow up the island. This cutscene kind of gave me Jimmy Neutron energy, the whole game did. Exploring the more open areas led to this like goofy ass level of helping Cortex through a variety of tough situations, from bee swarms to the hive landing on his head, and even like a PS1 looking ass bear running after him. This was a welcome switch up to the gameplay, pretty silly, and his repeated scream almost made me and Travis snap mentally. There's 2 levels like this where Cortex is just getting fucked and running straight. But here and throughout the game, I've noticed some of the hitboxes are a little weird. Whether it's the next level with the spear guys, just their spear hitbox, or those like crystals, like I didn't know when to hit, like when was I hitting them, like when I spun right into them. Constant variety of levels and playstyles that kind of all work together to build a fire start. But as the game moved forward, things did get like a little more annoying. Even though the creative design did not like let up, everything kept me interested from start to finish, but shit kind of pissed me off. I cannot believe I've made it this far and neglected to mention the soundtrack, because It sounds like Smooth McGroove off Za. I mean, all of it is a cappella, just corny, kinda. Besides a few sweet like guitar solos and other stuff during like boss battles. If you're in a frustrating level, this like repetitive, generic nature of the arrangements can get grating for sure. And in like the goofy cutscenes they would fit, but like I'm like, holy shit. There was a couple more levels, each with their own mechanics, like hide from the binocular guy and get the ugly Ghostbuster worm to outrunning the tribe. The Tiki boss wrapped up the area nicely. He was cool. The bosses were a definite high point, even if they all followed this circular arena trope. The cutscenes are always a nice reward to smirk at too. But for these bosses, running to the right full tilt is just a devastating strategy to most of them. Every couple deaths, me and my friends would pass the sticks, and it really is like my favorite Crash experience, just taking turns on hard levels, strategizing and complaining. Overall, just engrossing in the game that much more. With the worst level in the first area though, tried to boast the openness and made you push this like really ugly worm through the entire area, and it just was not fun at all. It gave me like Mario Sunshine, like really shitty mission energy. Yeah, look at this ugly fucking boat that led us to the snow area. After Cortex can't find his way in, he goes ahead without us, and there was never really a dull moment. Constantly new concepts, cute graphics, combining one new concept with the other, and then they would complicate it further. Just classic platform shit. The gameplay loop just felt a bit more involved than older Crash games, I'm not gonna lie. The two masks work together too, but first we have to beat the one's ass.
Crash and Cortex, I don't know whether to kiss you or kill you!
Then Cortex's plump ass was trying to plan a quick way down the hill, so we had to improvise with him as a snowboard. With him moaning every jump was fun as hell, making it down as a snowball too. What else do you want? Things felt like they were moving a little fast, however, especially for modern standards. It seemed we were about halfway done, and we headed to the Haunted Academy after only about 2 hours of like actual gameplay. The enemy variety was just not amazing. In the iceberg lab, I don't know how, but I went the wrong way or something and legit had to redo the game from like the snowboard mission for some reason, which was like replaying like a level and a half at this point, and it just annoyed me. Why are they trying to stretch this fucking game out? Oh yeah, there was also some cute but forgettable rocket penguins. But yeah, here we snowballed into this weird dude's cabin with like the most unfinished animation ever, and he ended up being the boss like 4 levels later, which was cool. But before that, we had to make it past Dr. Engine and his whack lab full of fucking rats and rockets and a lot of like needy precise jumps. The game was ramping up its difficulty and we would get stuck, but it didn't feel as tense as other Crash titles due to the more comedic and open nature of the game as a whole. But in this level and throughout the second half, it felt like some of the checkpoints were super spread out to lengthen the super short game. Stretching it out. We fell out of the sky into this polar bear's place, and then after outrunning him, working my ass off, we end up on this glacier in like an abyss to chat it out and have probably like the best boss battle in the game in the middle of nowhere. It felt like an allegory or something, unfinished but kind of cool. It was just a clusterfuck. It felt like a mix of what they actually finished, I'm guessing, and they just threw in all the levels that they were actually done with. Because some parts were like lacking those finishing touches, but the levels and mechanics were sound and creative, but just something wasn't fully right. Coco finally got a word in this cutscene, and she sounds like just like Jimmy Neutron.
My brother, go!
The Haunted Academy continued the game's like really awesome use of color. This one was like purpley and orange and green, just a perfect little Halloween ghoulish treat, full of explorable set pieces that make you want to just go through every area kind of slow. These soccer ball physics make no sense to me though and were ass, and later the ball physics will piss me off further in like the last level. And here they even let you play as Cortex like once or twice and blam on a few. Moving underneath the school in like the sewage system had a really cool level mechanic with Cortex making it through the little pipes like a Futurama episode, and you had to make sure they were set before you sent him through. We finally fight that guy whose house we destroyed like an hour ago, and he's like a total pain in the ass with a pattern you kind of had to get down before you beat him. I died like 4 times, and I had to replay the boss again this time after beating it, and even after getting a new checkpoint because my half-price books disc didn't want to see me succeed and froze like twice at this point. The inside, more linear classroom level was really cool, and they reintroduced stealth, but this time with like this ghost nerd hall monitor ass. We got to play as Cortex too, and we all linked up together, and we linked up with his niece, which was the reason why we came to the school in the first place. Because she's supposed to fix up some bullshit like his psychotron. But yeah, we got to play as Nina Cortex. She feels kind of like a mix between Neo Cortex and Crash. She's kind of cool looking, edgy. Her teeth look, but like in the PS2 kind of art, she looks kind of cool and emo. But yeah, we need Nina to fix the Psychotron, like I said. We can just pull up on the evil twins and fuck them up in their dimension. But to do that, we had to use this grappling hook that I just never really understood. The last boss of this area was Cortex's bitch teacher. Who else can relate? But yeah, she made him snap, and he told his classmates not to go to school tomorrow. Because, I mean, he took it personally, clearly, against the teacher. But we make it on the airship and out of the school and head for the evil twins. But we finally get some backstory. Lowercase n, Neo Cortex doing some uncool experiments with his pet birdies. Some fucking not cool under the table experiments. But yeah, it felt like here the story actually kind of mattered and swayed every level in what direction we took. I know it does that in the other games, but I mean, it would just be more generic. We teleported to the 10th dimension or some shit and made our way up this sick-ass volcano. If I saw this as a kid, I would have been so hype. Holy shit. Come on, look at our journey up. But yeah, this game, in the end, felt like I was playing a cartoon, honestly. They reused the snowboard cutscene with a different background this time to trigger the descent down the volcano. This time racing down with Evil Crash throwing hazards at us. Super fun. I wish it was longer, but this time it's way shorter. I wonder fucking why. Then they just revealed this super disgusting enemy without saying anything. Like, I'm just supposed to accept this dig guy as normal, the rock Pokemon. After finally escaping Evil Crash with that same type of mission as when the Beehive was messing with Neo, but longer, less funny, and harder, we find ourselves at the last dance, the final level. This is our journey. This is our adventure. This is where Cortex can right his wrongs. It felt super last level-y. Lava, and we're in an evil scientist lab. These spheres were a definite vibe killer, having to do this little slide kick perfectly to kick them up. The level design remained strong throughout the game, and this one was no different. These pink Windows 98 screensaver platforms were fun to time, and I did feel tested. The jetpack ants and color changing platforms were also appreciated. We even made a little song along to remember when the platforms were changing. Red, green, blue, yellow. And yeah, this final mission crams so many concepts and ideas to make a banger level to remember the game by, I can't lie. They kind of do that, play as everybody, use all the skills you've learned when Cortex gets them in their cage the same way he did when he was like 8. But shit, the game wraps up after the 3 lamest boss sequences of the game, honestly. Nina's is sweet looking, but the mechanic of the grappling hook, it just pisses me off. We died in this area. Neo had a pretty basic section that took some time figuring out the second phase and how to get rid of its gun hand. The final section, you're in a mech, Titanfall style, finishing the game, man, and it's just wacky. The actual final part was super easy though, and I was okay with it because this game was just a roller coaster. Truly never knew what to expect. We got a pizza while playing it, and they sent us a Diet Pepsi instead of a regular. Like, we just had to expect a curveball in every aspect of life. But nothing, and I mean nothing, could have prepared me for the final cutscene. The visual that is supposed to tie loose ends, wrap the story up with perhaps a bow of some kind, but no. Just witness this shit. I can't even explain.
Where am I? What is this?
It felt like the perfect ending to Crash Twinsanity. A game that never took itself serious. It was saying out-of-pocket shit and showcased some really unique and clever levels. Almost cranked up to a certified classic level. But it ends up landing somewhere in the like niche, kind of forgotten, weird banger tier. So before we wrap her up, let me give the floor to my roommate Travi, who helped me mentally and controllerly beat this game.
What's up, Boompa World? It's Travi again. I really like this game. Yes, there's flaws everyone will mention online, and I've seen a million videos about it since I finished. And, you know, they have some good points, rightfully so. So let me get out what I didn't like about Twinsanity first. I think Boompa would agree. The first thing I didn't like was the checkpoints. They weren't spaced out right, so that could be frustrating. Second, well, some of the enemy AI was lackluster. Like the robots with swords, once you figured them out once, the rest of the game it was ridiculously easy, and it was almost like they shouldn't they were useless pretty much. 3, the game was unfinished for sure, which makes me sad because it would have been awesome to see Universal Games full vision. You could tell like this Crash was definitely the most innovative and weird. Okay, now to the good. I love the tone of this game. It was hilarious. I can't tell you how many times Boompa and I died laughing. This game definitely had a Jester vibe. I like that they definitely went with a different tone than previous Crash entries to stand out, which kept me intrigued the whole game, really. The level design was great and challenging. A lot of variety I didn't see in other Crash games. Like when you're snowboarding against enemies. That was a really cool level. The story was also strong. I felt like I knew more of the story playing the game than I did in other Crash games. Like if I couldn't tell you right now what Crash 2 was about, but I feel like I'll always remember Twinsanity because it was just so weird, and the story was funny. Overall, this Crash Twinsanity, while flawed, it really did have an undeniable charm for me. It really was a great early 2000s game. I definitely would give this game probably a 7.5, only because it's unfinished, and like I said, some of the checkpoints and glitches. So yeah, Twinsanity is a great entry in the Crash world, and I definitely want to play it again. I would recommend it.
But yeah, this game is pretty wild. I would say the title fits it well. Although it received mixed reviews, like this game has grown on the community and it's pretty respected. I feel like the general consensus is with a little more time, this one could have been the best. Wham wham. Now I think there's newer other games that just do the Crash gameplay better, but this as a standalone unique platformer and adventure is one I do recommend, and I think it separates itself from any other Crash game. There was really limited time playing as Nina and Neo Cortex, and even as the Twinsanity duo the game is named after, just felt like all their ideas thrown together to cross the finish line as a full game. But it was still satisfying and tries really hard to be funny, so you will laugh with and at it. But yeah, there's some complaints, but if you see this game out in the wild and want peak 2004 energy in a platformer, from the humor, to the aesthetic, to the cover, to the story, come on, it's valid. Thanks for watching and making it to the end. If you guys like this video, please be sure to give it a like and subscribe for more videos like this. I appreciate you, I appreciate it, and let's hope the next banger awaits.